Good morning and welcome to Morning Java, brought to you by our friends at GetGo Cafe and Market, where the espresso beans are as real as the Italian espresso machine that processes them.
Yeah, you can drink it hot, you can drink it cold like in an ice rink.
This dude drinks it cold.
I drink it cold
like
even when we're
like
at an ice rink.
So what are we doing at an ice rink in the middle of June? Well, Jim Rutherford spoke to a handful of outlets after the NHL draft, talked a lot about his plans for the Penguins going into free agency. And Sunday, this won't surprise anybody, but they're not really specifically targeting anything. You know how it was last year. Remember third-line center?
Sure. Well, they have a third-line center. They have a fourth-line center. They have a center who might play some wings. So they're a little bit deeper at center this year, which is, well, that's a good thing. But he'd obviously like to get some depth across all four lines, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he wants. What he wants specifically is scoring. The most striking thing that he said about that was he's tired of seeing all of the burden placed on Sid and Gino and Phil in the power play, that when things don't go right for those guys, which does happen, they're human, that there's really nobody to bail them out. And he was really pointed about the fourth line. He wants to see goals from the fourth line.
They became a three-line team and a power play team, and keyword Phil was included there.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you see the fourth line as being feasible with the guys at hand?
No, I don't. I mean, no, we've talked about Connor Sheary to death. I don't think he can play there and create on his own. I've said that same thing on just about every job.
And Kuhn-Hackl, I think you're going to see a very different fourth line for the Penguins in 2018-19. Now, the other striking thing that Jim Rutherford said was that he's going to move somebody, something, for cap purposes. Now, as soon as everybody hears that, what do they think right away?
The guy already said, Connor Sheary.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Phil.
Oh, no,
That's all anybody's thinking when they hear that is Phil.
Connor Sheary's my top of the list guy.
Okay, he's mine too. I think Connor Sheary's probably as good as gone. It was Jim Rutherford's way of kind of letting people know that. He's got a 3-year... he's going into the second year of a 3-year contract that pays an average annual value of $3 million. And he's basically a spare part with this group.
Yeah, he's not enough of that Swiss Army knife that they like to throw around. He can't fill enough of those roles on
Brian
different
Russ
lines.
can.
Yeah, exactly.
Right side, left side, first line, fourth line.
Yeah, if he was able to do that, and if he had the same kind of speed and down ice ability to create and use that power move at the end of that speed to really, drive towards the net and create on his own, it would be a whole different story. But I've just never seen anything like him outside of that one Philadelphia playoff game.
Oh, he was unbelievable. He was just flying. But that's what happens when you're on that level of adrenaline. You can't do that every night. That was in the elimination game, I think, in Philadelphia. Yeah, the Flyers elimination. What about Phil?
What about Phil, man? I mean, we're talking for 2/3 of the year last year. We're talking about him being the MVP of the Penguins.
Yep.
He carried them through the first half of the year. Talked about this a lot with Bradford on the podcast. He was just so good. He was the Penguins MVP for so much of the year, and then it was Geno Malkin the rest of the way. Really.
I'll tell you this, Jim Rutherford, he didn't even really want to get into the Phil stuff, but he made it pretty clear Phil's going to be a Penguin. And the other news of the day, and it's anything but a surprise, the Penguins signed Daniel Sprong, Dominic Simone to contracts, to NHL contracts. I know there are people who are down on Simone, so let's talk about him first. What's your impression of him? I'll then share mine.
You and I both liked him a lot.
Yeah.
Not to speak for you, but at different times. He was kind of Sherry-like in the up and down of his season, but the way that he plays is so much different because he's able to manipulate his body in small spaces. He seems to read off of Sidney Crosby and Jake Gensel when he was playing with them.
He's strong. You've seen that against the glass on the boards.
He's a bigger guy than he is.
He's not, some giant dude or whatever, but he's strong on the puck.
Right.
And
in small spaces.
Something that Rutherford mentioned that I'm not sure that I'd heard before was that the Penguins weren't happy with the way Simone extended his shifts. He would stay out too long. He wasn't in a good rhythm with that, and that's when he would get in trouble. I think what bugged fans about him was that he'd get chances and do nothing with them. He just flat out didn't score. And that bothers people because when you're on a line with Sid, you should be scoring.
Yeah, and it's a common problem across the Penguins. There's a lot of pass-happy guys when they should be shot-happy guys.
But even his shots weren't particularly good. He put it right in the guy's logo.
I've done that a lot in my awfully less talented career, so I'm not going to judge the guy for hitting a logo every once in a while. I like him, though. I think he fits on the team.
And Daniel Sprong, look, Rutherford couldn't have spoken more strongly about him in terms of his goal scoring. He will score goals at this level. He's got that release. He's got that shot. But the coach is going to expect him to do all the other little things much better than he has. Now, what everybody actually wants to know about Jim Rutherford and the Penguins is, are they going to make a big move? He couldn't have made it clearer Sunday that not only won't they make one, they really can't.
You mean they're not sending anybody to the Hamptons to court John Tavares?
I mean, he was laughing about somebody calling him and asking about John Tavares, and not a GM, like some Toronto media outlet. Are you guys going to get Tavares? No, they're not going to get Tavares. They're not going to get Paul Stastny. They're not going to get any of these bigger names that are out there. They don't have it in the budget. Second of all, they have centers. Pretty good ones.
What about a guy like Patrick Maroon or Grabner? You've liked Grabner.
I like Grabner. I don't like Maroon. Maroon was a fit with the Ducks whenever he was, whenever it was the big Western Conference grinder guys. Grabner, I'll take Grabner any day of the week.
I mean, Grabner's got the speed to play with the Penguins. They're just
Penalty
both
killer.
kind of the lower end of the cap hit that I think maybe could add to the depth. I mean, Maroon, when he was traded to the Devils, he scored something like 13 goals in 17 games or something. So he did it away from the young kid up in Edmonton.
No, you don't like it? No, I'm not into that. And I really don't think that the head coach would be. He wants his wingers to be able to move. And you're going to see, I think, the Penguins get away from some of their guys who can't, who are back there.
So is that the archetype that you're looking for, a guy that's still in the speedy vein?
The biggest takeaway that I had from this whole session Sunday was that I don't think Rutherford has a very specific target, even positionally. He wants to do something to just, as it comes to him, to further the balance, and he definitely wants another defenseman. He wants somebody, he didn't say this, I will, but he basically wants somebody to bump Ruhwedel back to 7.
I know a guy if they're interested.
Who's that?
It's that bearded fellow that won 2 Stanley Cups with the Penguins.
Really?
Really. Ian Cole. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I have. I thought you were going to say Orpik.
No, Orpik's in a whole different stratosphere right now.
Well, bringing in another defenseman is something that's definitely on Rutherford's list. Adding, I think, a scoring winger, somebody with maybe more versatility than a Sherry and who wouldn't cost as much is going to be another part of it. But hey, look, man, it's mid-June and we're talking about hockey at a hockey rink. And look down there.
Bunch of kids, the future Penguins.
Wait, I thought that was development camp. That's later in the week.
Later in the week, man.